Glad that you are here. It's our no reading required book club. This means I read the book, tongue pierced, so you don't have to. The concept is I was in a number of book studies, Bible studies, and there'd always be 10 or 15 people at the beginning of the session. And then by the end, people got busy lives, they're doing shift work, they have young moms, whatever the reason was. Life just got ahead of them, and then they felt guilty about not reading the chapter, so they wouldn't come to the group discussion, and then they wouldn't share. But I missed them. So if nobody has to read the book, we can still have a conversation about the good in the book. So that's where the idea for the No Reading Required book club came from. And we are into chapter 4. It's called Go Ahead, Talk to Yourself. It's really about the mental script, the words we say to ourselves throughout the day, and what type of words those are. I think this is by far my favorite chapter so far with this book. The first 2 chapters were definitely just words matter, setting up the premise of the entire book. What you say has power. Last chapter was a very important one. It was on prayer, but since we have been talking a lot about prayer in church life and in other studies, like it felt like a good reminder, but it wasn't new stuff. And I think this is the first chapter where we're really getting into the heart of how words affect our lives. So I also think this is one of those chapters where it's true for Christians. Like we're at a church. You've got the cross we got the cross in the background. There. The cross in the background. But it also is our chance to, I really think this is true for everyone. Those who do not follow Christ, do not have the same faith background as myself, and those who are present with me, you still have a mental script. And if you're watching this and you're tuning in, what you say to yourself matters, and changing those words can have a drastic effect on your life. So let's dive in. Opening paragraphs, he always has 2 quotes. One is from the Bible and one is from a different author. Tonight is "Watch your thoughts. They become your words." Frank Outlaw. And I really think that's true. The thoughts you think about yourself eventually becomes the words you say to yourself. And the more you hear it, the more you say it, even if it's just to yourself, the more they shape the trajectory of your life, the more they influence who you are. This is from the Psalms. King David wrote, "May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing to you alone, my rock and my redeemer." So normally how I do this is when I read the chapter, I just highlight things that I think are worth saving, and that's how I know where to stop as we're going through. This chapter is kind of divided into 2 parts. Setting up why this matters, and then how to actively change the words we say to ourselves. So the first line that stood out to me is, "Whether you're aware of it or not, you and I talk to ourselves all day, every day, through the thoughts we allow to consume our minds." And that could be anything from how we evaluate our performance, our skills, our lack of skills. It can be insults. It can be encouragements. It can be you know the script you have in your head, from seeing yourself in the mirror and maybe going, "Oh, this about my face is wrong. This is wrong about my body." Like, that's one script I know I have struggled with at times. So whatever that script is, you are made or unmade by your thoughts. Day after day, month after month, year after year, they create every condition of your life. And here, me and the author are about to disagree a little bit. So much of so much that our situations and circumstances you perceive as happening to you are usually happening because of you. In other words, and that's a tough, in one way or another, that's a tough pill to swallow, isn't it? No matter what the current state of your life is, you say the word,
Accumulate?
no, well, tiv at the end. Cumulative.
Accumulative.
Cumulative thoughts have landed you there. And every day they either keep you where you are, pulling you back, or propelling you to a better future. I agree with you. Hey, Mom. So glad you could join us tonight. We are talking about words again, and we're talking specifically, if you haven't caught up to me, about the words we say to each other. Okay, so what he's saying is the words you say to yourself are putting you in situations and circumstances you perceive most of the time. He does have a usually because of you. And I've seen that. I've watched as a youth pastor teen drama, that angst of being on the outside of the group because of the language that teen either said to themselves that caused them to act in certain ways. And I've watched the turmoil that has created because of the scripts one person said to themselves and how it riled up drama and conflict. So there is a truth to what he's saying, but there are times where when somebody has been abused, they did not bring that upon themselves. Like, that wasn't something they could stop. And I think there are times where it has nothing to do with you. So it depends on the types of situations. If you are in conflict with a loved one because each of you have been rifed with conflict, yeah, the way you talk about it, going in like rolling your eyes, oh, I don't want to go to Thanksgiving, this is going to be miserable. Well, yeah, Thanksgiving's probably going to be a miserable experience. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I just wanted to be clear. I don't actually think every situation and circumstance happens to you because of you. That's my own thing. But it's true. A lot of our attitude going into a situation, so that family Thanksgiving, you've had a tumultuous relationship with family, and you go home to Thanksgiving, or they're coming over for Thanksgiving, and you're rolling your eyes and you're not wanting to be there and you're moody about it. The words you're going to say to yourself, oh, this is miserable. I don't get along with these people. I hate this. This is going to be the worst. Oh, it's going to be so bad. That's going to affect your perception because you're looking for the miserable. Oh, did you see the way they looked at me? Well, maybe they weren't. Maybe they were grimacing because they were passing gas and it had nothing to do with you, but you're preparing yourself for this miserable experience, and that script that you've told yourself directly influence the outcome of that event. And I think that's the type of scripts, an example of the type of script that they are talking about in this chapter. C.S. Lewis wrote, "What you see and what you hear depends a great deal on where you are standing. It also depends on what sort of person you are." I can think of different examples where that's completely true. So I had friends about 8 years ago, and they had been dating for about 4 or 5 months, and they had had a lot of miscommunication, like enormous amounts of miscommunication. So me and the friend were driving, and she said to me, I'm mutually friends with both of them. She said to me, "Do you think this relationship will last?" And I'm like, "I think you have about 3 more months of honeymoon. We're still gaga eyes because we're attracted to each other. And if you don't, in these 3 months or a year, like up to a year, figure out how to talk to each other, no, I don't think this relationship will last. But I think if you guys choose to work on your communication now that you've started, that yes, you can make it work if you want to. It will be challenging." That's what I said. I think you can make it work, but it will be hard. If you choose not to make it work, if you don't put the effort in, it's not going to work. To which, 3 days later, the guy in the relationship came, almost pushed me over and went, "How dare you tell my girlfriend we're not going to make it as a couple?" Perception is everything. Yeah. So what we hear isn't always what was said. I think a couple of weeks ago in the sermon when I was talking about this was it's amazing some of us manage to communicate anything to anyone ever, like because of those. I have what's in my head, what I think I'm communicating out. And then because of where you are as a listener, you're hearing not just what I'm saying, but you're hearing the lens or the filter through certain words. They might have different words have different weight. The different ways of explaining things might change it. So we are specifically talking though about how the words we speak change the course of our lives. So your dominating thoughts create your reality. And I think that could be anything from like, do I have value? I don't have value, to I am loved, I am beloved, I have value, I'm creative. I've talked about how I worked at a place for a year and the guy called everyone an idiot. And that was the dominating vocal out loud words I heard. Like that word I heard like 100 times in a day. Idiot. He said idiot all the time. Everybody was an idiot. Don't be an idiot. Why would you do that? That's an idiotic thing to do. Everything was about being an idiot. And for about 3 years afterwards, anytime I flubbed anything, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. And that I'm still unwriting that script. Okay, here is how your dominating thoughts create your reality. First, they fashion your beliefs. Valid or not, those beliefs shape your attitude about yourself and the world around you. I'm unlovable. Let's take that as a concept. If you think you're unlovable, you're going to say it to yourselves until it becomes your reality. You're going to close off. You're going to put your arms up. You're going to withdraw from people, which is potentially going to be uninviting to other people. It's going to shut down conversations. And therefore, ultimately, it will turn people away and can lead you to prove self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm unlovable. See, I've proven it. And the truth is, you are lovable. But valid or not, the beliefs we put into our heads shape our attitudes about ourselves. Your attitudes create your feelings, and your feelings drive the actions that you take in every area of your life. Another one would be, well, I'm unlovable. There's no point to get out of bed. So we're not getting out of bed today. And then that, oh, I'm so tired, I'm lazy, is going to give you a sluggish day. Have you ever noticed on days where you wake up, maybe you're excited because something's happening and you've got a joy and a skip in your step and you go through the day because it's going to be a good day. You're looking forward to something, and spilling the milk's not that big of a deal. And, oh, I have to fill up the car, but I'm running late. It's fine. It will all work out because you're in this positive. All these setbacks aren't that big of a deal because of the attitude you have. That same you on a different day where you're like, oh, well, this end of the world, the milk spilled, and now I'm going to be late. Oh, I'm the worst. Like whatever that language is, those are, okay. So I'm going to read this again. Your dominating thoughts create your reality. First, they fashion your beliefs. Valid or not, those beliefs shape your attitude about yourself and the world around you. Your attitude creates your feelings, and your feelings derive the actions you take in every area of your life. The way you see yourself and the world around you is an outgrowth of what goes on in your mind. Everything you choose to do or not do, say or not say, starts with the seed of thought. As such, getting a handle on the words no one hears but you is important. He calls it non-negotiable when it comes to creating the life you were meant to live. I think that's a lot. From here, he talks a lot about how Paul writes about this, about the law of planting. If you plant a tomato plant seed, you're going to grow a tomato plant. If you plant a pear tree seed and it grows into a pear tree and you wait long enough, because I think it's like 5 years before fruit trees actually bear fruit, when it finally grows, you go to it, it's not going to have oranges on it. It's going to have pears. Don't be misled. No one makes a fool of God. What a person plants, he will harvest. The person who plants selfishness, ignoring the needs of others, ignoring God, reaps a harvest of wheat, or harvest a crop of weeds. He'll have to show his life is weeds. All he'll have to show for his life is weeds. This is the message I'm not used to reading in this paraphrase. But the one who plants a response to God, letting God's Spirit to do the growth work in him, harvests a crop of real life, eternal life. Good news. Okay. So that's the concept. Like, what we say matters. Your thoughts act as instructions to your brain. As soon as they come, your brain is going to work on making them a reality. Self-fulfilling prophecies. The thoughts you plant, to keep with this whole planting analogy, is the crop that you will respond. And your brain gets pretty busy producing the corresponding crop. Your subconscious mind can't differentiate.
Yep.
Oh, I got it. Ugh. Sometimes my mouth and words just don't want to come out. Between useful seeds and weed seeds, or between what's true and beneficial to you and what's not. My brain did this internalization of I'm an idiot from when I worked at that store really did seek in. I didn't think to filter out that lie, and it was devastating to my psyche, to how I perceive myself. I second guessed choices I was making. I doubted if I could go back to school. Like, there's a number of things over the last 6 years, that 1 year of influence, because I was the one who continued to dwell on those words.
Didn't you say anything to him about?
It wasn't until a lot later when I realized, because I had used failure, stupid, other words, but I had never really used the word idiot. It wasn't until about 1.5 years later when I'm like, oh, this is idiot. And I'm like, oh, that's actually like seeped into my vocabulary. Also, he was the guy who paid my paychecks, so
You're afraid to say anything.
it's not really a conversation I was going to say to him. Now, it is kind when I go back and visit that shop. He always tries to bribe me to return because I was the best employee they've ever had, which I don't think is fully true, but it's nice to hear. I need to step back and think about what we are saying to ourselves in ongoing internal conversation, starting with words that will reap a harvest of peace, joy, fulfillment, rather than choke out the life you want. Yes, and we're going to get that. Okay, so this is an anonymous quote. I've heard it before. I always like it. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. Okay. Ooh. My nose is still itchy from wearing a mask earlier today. There are 3 main areas of life where your thoughts produce obviously measurable harvests: your personal accomplishment, your relationships, and your health. And he has them in those order, but I want to do it reversed. Science has really come a long way in the last 20 years. Or maybe I'm just at a place in my life where I know what science means, so it's not noon. But what they've discovered is stress produces cortisol, into the hormone, into your system. And this is the hormone in your system that works with adrenaline to get you into a fight or flight state. But a high elevation of that in your body for a long period of time when cortisol levels remain high over a long period of time, they lead to anxiety, weight gain, digestive problems, heart disease, even cancer. And one of the ways that we can get them is stress, and stress can come from negative feelings and bad attitudes. Unforgiveness, which is sometimes holding a grudge, can be one of our mental scripts that any of us can fall in a trap. I will never forgive that person. I will never let that go. Sure, I'll forgive them, but I'll never let it go, which I would argue might not be actual forgiveness. That creates tension in your body. That creates, like, the things you think actually can create physical trauma in your body, because heightened I can never say the cortisol hormone in your body actually will make you sick. Unforgiveness can make you sick. Negative attitudes can make you sick. It's not the only thing that can produce cortisol, but it is one of those things that with time you can change the script, change your attitude about people. You can forgive, you can lower your stress in certain situations that actually helps make your body healthier. And this is, like, people have known this. Not David, his son, King Solomon, wrote in Proverbs, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength." It's true. That is Proverbs 17:22, if you're interested. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. And that means if you're in a place, like, I have gone through depression, real depression, and it does. Depression isn't just all, like, I had a conversation with a teen last year, and, well, they were a preteen at the time, and they were like, I just thought depression was sitting and crying all the time. I'm like, no. Functional depression can just be an ongoing mental script. It's a cloud or a weighted blanket that nobody else sees, and it physically affects you. It affects your brain. It fogs how you think. It makes you think that you're not wanting to be with people, and then you feel isolated because you're alone. Like, it is complex. It does not look the same for every person, and it can, because of the chemical imbalances that it can create, it affects the script you have. And this is one of those times where I'm going to say, these are all biblical things that we're talking about tonight. The truth of the words you say matter. And if you're just struggling with depression, the words you say to yourself do matter. But if you think that this might be your thing, like, not only am I having a negative attitude, but I think I might be just depressed, it's time to go talk to somebody professional, because not everybody has the same treatment course to get through depression, or have the same coping skills work for each person the same. You might need medication. There are people that the right medication prescribed by the right professional will make all the difference. And then you have to, well, we're going to pause that. Other people need different treatments. There are therapies that help you through depression. They don't mean it goes away forever necessarily, but it does assist you to control it more, to recognize it and not let it to control you. So yeah, I think that's a side piece to this whole thing. And we sometimes in Christian circles make it seem like it's just, it can just be fixed by talking. And some people, that is the therapy they need. Like, that is the treatment solution, but it's not the same for everyone. And needing to go see a professional who gives you a medication is no different than if I had a broken leg. Sometimes God can miraculously heal that, and sometimes I just need a doctor to put a cast on it. So, and most of the time, the way God heals is by going to a professional to put a cast on it. So I hope we're all cool on that. If somebody can yell out an amen or put it in the chat for me.
Absolutely.
Okay, I've got 2 amens in person, and with all that, it is true. A cheerful heart is good medicine. If in your depression you can, Actually, that's actually how I often know when I'm not doing well. If the things like playing board games, doing puzzles, reading a book, going for a walk isn't giving me joy anymore, if I'm numb when I'm doing those things, it's probably time for me to figure out what else is going on. So, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength. Is there anything else? Your entire day may play out a subpar level because the mental atmosphere you create for yourself before you even get out of bed. Okay, this is where he was talking about if you wake up in the morning thinking how tired you are and wishing you could just pull the covers over your head, you will start to feel sluggish and it will affect your whole day. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I'm tired and I need more sleep all day, you're going to feel tired and like you will need more sleep. So we can create a mental atmosphere. If we live in a world where we're always judging ourselves harshly, this is going to relationships. So there's 3 areas our words affect: our personal achievements, our relationships, our health. Is there anything else on health I want to say? Nope, I think that's about it for health. So if we spend all day judging ourselves harshly, when we are giving ourselves that one, we're going to judge others. And I think it goes both ways. I recognized when I started watching American Idol, and I really like reality shows. I adore them. I love MasterChef, I like Survivor, but specifically when I was watching American Idol, and so you can think you can dance. I know nothing about singing. I can't tell when somebody's flat. But when it comes to dance, I can't tell if they're a good ballerina or not ballerina. I don't know that this arm is this right or is this right? I don't know anything about it. And here I am, like, sitting back, armchair judge, going, "Oh, they did blah 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 blah." Like I was a judging judger, and it seeped into other things. Some friends and I would regularly go to these beautiful open mics, and instead of just enjoying live music of amateurs, amateur I learned it means like, well, I have to get the heart of it again. It's about doing it for the love of the thing. That's what the root word of amateur comes from. So these amateur musicians are just getting up and performing because they love to perform. They love the music. And here me and my friend are like, oh, really? They're going to do that song? Like, judging judger, it affects your relationships because, well, one of those people in that group of friends has had a number of broken relationships because she keeps herself to such a very high standard. She expects everyone else, it seeps over into all of her relationships. I hope that one made sense. You're going to see what you look for. Okay, yeah, that's, you're going to, the same holds true for your spouse and your children and your friends and your coach. You will see what you are looking for. If you constantly think the problem in your relationships or shortcomings of people around you, you will only see problems and shortcomings when you interact with them. I think I said something last week about grace is hoping or helping and treating people like they can be changed and not being surprised or disappointed in them when they don't change, which I think is very challenging to do. So it's focusing on the good over the frustrating, seeing the best in people. I think one of the greatest examples of this is in that story of Corrie ten Boom and her sister, whose name I just forgot, Betsy. They were 2 women who were in a concentration camp during World War II. And they were Christians, so they were choosing to be thankful for God. And Betsy made the statement, we need to be thankful for everything. Everything is a reason to praise God. And Corey essentially said, the fleas, we can't praise God for the fleas. And Betsy's like, no, we will praise God even for the fleas. And they were in the worst ward. I went for a walk in the woods this summer and we were inundated by mosquitoes and it was miserable. And the more we talked about the mosquitoes, the more miserable I got on that walk. And I just imagine that these fleas would have been a worse experience. And Betsy's like, nope, we need to praise God. And they realized later, because their area was so infested, the guards didn't check on them, which meant they could pray more and worship God and have Bible study in the prison, in the concentration camp. And that was one of those flipping the narrative, choosing to be positive. Okay. You can sabotage your relationships by not only thinking of the wrong thing about yourself, but also dwelling on the wrong thoughts when it comes to other people. For example, my mother and I have so many issues. I don't think it will ever work out. My spouse and I don't get along like we used to. My friends are so annoying. Why do I spend time with them? I've seen over the last 5 years I hate people. Well, no, you don't. You hate when people are jerks, but you don't hate people. But it's become a common mantra. And then the treatment of people is worse because like this majority have forgotten that people are good, that there's greater divides. That's where I notice it the most. I'm going to read that quote in a moment. So when we have those conversations, going back to I have to go to Thanksgiving dinner. It's going to be a nightmare. I hate my this person in the family, and I'm never going to forgive that person. And it's going to be this. That script is going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. His example is if you're anxious about seeing people and I'm going to be awkward and it's going to go horrible and nobody wants to be my friend, you're setting yourself up for those things to happen. The last one is your achievements. Every accomplishment in your life, whether it's how well you do in school, what level you ascended to in your professional life, or how you manage your household, are directly linked to how you feel about yourself. I really pause about that because I know there's a lot of people who berate themselves who have achieved stuff, but they've made themselves miserable out of fear of failure and feel like frauds the whole time, that they don't deserve what they've earned. So I think he's probably right. What defines your evaluation of your own this is a question for you to think about. What defines your evaluation of your own capabilities and worth? What do you say about yourself when you talk to yourself? Yeah, that's the big one to ask this week. After all, what you believe about yourself determines how you feel about yourself. How you feel about yourself dictates your daily actions. Your daily actions add up over time to determine your level of accomplishment in the area of life that is important to you. When you and I wake up to this reality, we begin to filter the contents of our mental script through the sieve of truth. I like that. I've got a really good image of this sieve, and I've been watching, going back to I love baking shows or reality shows, I've been watching a lot of Canada's Best Baker this week, and one of the things they do, they've got the sieve, they put the jam, and then so that the jam comes out and all the seeds stay behind. And then if we use a sieve to sort through our thoughts, leave all the seeds behind, just get all the good stuff for the life puree. That analogy hold up?
Sure.
Okay. And some of us really do have a hard time believing that we are lovable. And it could be our mental script started as soon as we were born. The things our parents said to us, doctors said to our parents about us, the way teachers and caregivers interacted with us, other siblings. And well-meaning or not, lies got crept in there. Ways that we didn't, things somebody never expected. I remember I was a babysitter, and silly goose, like, oh, you silly goose, was a fun term of endearment that at least one or two people in my life called me. So I was babysitting, and this little girl did something, and I giggled and said, "Oh, you silly goose." Anyway, the mother called me back that week, and she's like, "My daughter has been so negative about herself. Did you say, like, call her stupid or anything?" I'm like, "No." And then I'm like, "Oh, I did say this." I never got asked to babysit for them again. But that little girl interpreted silly goose, which I meant actually in a very loving way, to mean she had done something disappointing, which was heartbreaking. Like, even now thinking back, I'm like, that was never my intent, but she internalized it to mean something. And now she might be afraid to do whatever that silly thing was that I didn't think was a bad thing, but she's internalized it and started saying that about her when she was playing with Play-Doh with her mom that week. So again, some of our mental script has been handed to us from the people in our lives, and for good or ill, not all of it is healthy for us. You get to decide what mental script you allow to direct your thoughts now that you're aware there's a mental script. The script that comes to you from well-intentioned, often misguided people speaking out of their own poor scripts, or script based not on God, can be rewritten with a script based on the true identity God has given you. Choose wisely. Your decision will determine the directives your self-conscious mind receives, thereby control the direction and quality of your life. When I was in college, one of the activities that we had to do for one of our classes was the I am statements. It's by Neil T. Anderson. I forget what book it is. It's either Bondage Breaker or Victory Over Darkness. That part doesn't matter. You can Google I am statements, and they have, I'm a child of God. I am the light of the world. I am forgiven. I am a friend of God. There's 25, 40, I don't know how many statements in this list. My favorite one on the sheet that I had was the last one. It's not specifically based on scripture. Everyone else had a Bible verse reference to it. But this one was, I'm not the great I am, but by the grace of God, I am what I am. And just knowing that God has made me, and I am who God made me to be, and I am becoming more of who I am, was really beautiful. And we all had to write a paper of what it meant to us to say these statements for, I think, 30 days, maybe 40 days. And some people, it was like, yeah, I did that homework. Okay. And I've even heard it from other people. It didn't seem to impact my life at all. And other people going, wow, this is revolutionary. This has changed everything. And I think the difference is twofold. The first one is for people who really were transformed by it, they started believing the script. It seeped into, they started their morning this way, and it affected their whole life. It perfected their perception of themselves, their ability to do things of value, because one of them is like, you are beautifully and wonderfully made. You have been created for a purpose. Your life matters. You're accepted, you are of value. And for some people, that might have been their first time they ever believed it. I think that's why some people were profoundly affected by it. And I think in the camp of, I was definitely one of those people who very much loved and heard good things about myself, but just knowing that God loved me, like it was very profound for me at that time. And then I've done it a few other times, and it hasn't had the same wow effect. And so for somebody who hasn't had that wow effect, I think there's two reasons. The first one could be like, if I was to do it next week, I don't think it would be quite as profound to do it every day, because it's a lot of truth that I'm already holding on to. It's reinforcing what I know, but it's not like freeing because it's already established. It's part of my mental script. The second one is, and I think this can sometimes happen, we read the truth of the scripture and we haven't actually believed it. God loves me, but does he really love me? Like, there's still a doubt there, or we've gone through it so quickly because we don't really want to do an exercise, and so we don't let the word seep in, so it doesn't really have that profound effect. But I think for some people, I think it might have been, sure, I read it, but it hasn't changed how I think about myself. Thoughts? Yeah. That's what I was thinking when I was thinking this one. Okay. So we've established the scripts you say matter. They affect who you are, where you're going in life, where you're going to put your attention, how much you're going to achieve, what you value. It's going to affect your relationships, how you think of other people and yourself, and it's going to affect your health. So what do we do about it? If you're recognizing, okay, this does matter, what's the next step? I know I have bad script, or I know there are areas of my life that I can change. Well, we're going to think about thoughts. Step one, he suggests, and it's 3 practical steps that you can do this week, or at least start the journey. It's much like, I think, anything. I want to get healthier. Well, I need to start walking more. So 1 walk isn't going to make all the difference, but 3 walks a week for a year will make a huge difference. His first recommendation is, or the first step in this journey is to listen to your internal dialogue. What are you saying when it's just you thinking? When you talk to yourself, listen to those words. What kind of words are you saying? Are you talking to yourself bad about yourself? Are you talking about other people? Are you fretting? Are you worried? Are you anxious? One of the main, okay, I'm going to skip that. The first step to creating a healthier thought life doesn't require you to do anything but listen. And we've already been doing this a little bit. Listen to what you're saying to yourselves. We are the masters of our thoughts, and we can let them have their way with us. Oh, we have somebody joining us. This is so exciting. I'm going to let her sit down. Hello, welcome. Okay, so we've been talking about the words we say to ourselves. This is the quick summary. We've recognized that the words we say to ourselves can affect our day, our lives, our achievements. It can affect our relationships with other people. If we're judging ourselves harshly, we're probably going to be judging other people harshly. And the words we say can create negative stress in us, which has an effect on our health, because negative thoughts creates anxiety, which can increase our cortisol. Yes, cortisol hormone, which I know you would know has a lot of ramifications for your health. So if we know that we need to change our script, how do we change our script? And that's where we're at now. So step 1, listen to your internal dialogue. We can evaluate, like, when a thought comes into your head, it's okay. There is no bad thoughts in this sense. Like, when a thought comes into your head, you don't have to judge yourself for going, well, I want to slap that person. Maybe not the greatest reaction, but the thought of going, that's really annoying me, I want to slap them, isn't a sin. But now what am I going to do with it? So first, listen to that thought. Hold on to it. Sorry, I thought you were getting my attention. Are you going to, so yes, step 1 is listen. Listen to what you're saying. And then he says this interesting piece. We forget that we are the masters of our thoughts and let them have their way with us. So we listen, but we don't have to let them have their way with us. As you begin to tune into your mental environment, keep the basic truths about thoughts in your mind. You can't always control thoughts that pop into your head. I want to slap that person. That's a thought. This is the example. I don't know why that example came, but you can control what you do with them. I want to slap that person. So what do I do with this thought now? I think I need to forgive. I don't know. Let's keep reading his thoughts. Only have as much power as you give them. The more you dwell on certain thoughts, the more powerful they become. It's not a sin to have a wrong or negative or tempting thought that passes into your mind. If you let it pass right on through, the sin comes when you choose to indulge that thought, either by dwelling on it or acting on it. Okay, so My thought comes into my head. I want to slap that person. I am frustrated. Pushing it down. This is the one thing I want to caution. It's not simple to have a negative thought, just let it pass through. Well, no, I'm now getting irked by just me ignoring it. I'm just pushing it down. And that's a whole different discussion about what we do with emotions and thoughts that we just push down until they blow up at the wrong time because we haven't dealt with that thought. If we're pushing it down, it's not out. It's just dwelling somewhere else. That's a bad time.
It's a cancer.
It's a cancer.
And then you explode.
And I think that creates higher cortisol levels of stress in your body that physically can actually produce heart disease and cancer and other nasty things. So we listen to the thought. And then we have to make that choice. Okay, why do I want to slap this person? Well, I want to slap them because they're not listening to me. Or I want to slap them because when do I get annoyed with people? It's either that or I'm like, you're speaking and not letting anybody else speak. Or you're being rude and you're not. So that's when I have to go, okay, I do want to slap them. I really do. And I want to slap them for this reason. And I'm going to make the choice now to forgive them for their rudeness, their arrogance, their unsharing of the space. Whatever the thing is that led me to want to shake them, slap them, whatever the thing is. Wow, we're really getting to know my nitty-gritty. God, and this is normally where I go, okay, God, I recognize this. I pray a blessing on this person. And it's hard to stay angry at somebody who you are blessing. You know what? They probably don't know this. I just pray that you would give them insight or shut their mouths. Lord, what was the best one I said to in my head one day? I'm like, God, you love these children, which is good because right now I don't. And you, God, you're taking these strong-willed children to make good influences in the world today. I wish you would help mature them quicker. Oh, it was the best I could do that day. Becoming aware of what's going on in your head is the key to changing things. So I'm not going to change if I'm not aware of the type of script I'm having. I'm not able to change the script if I just look in the mirror and go, oh, I'm ugly. That's actually not one that I often say. I often think I don't look good in this. Do I say I'm ugly? I don't think I say I'm ugly. That's not quite where I struggle with. I'm unsatisfied with these elements. When I was doing makeup every day, I started actually hating how I looked more and more every day I added more makeup. I did a 30-day wear makeup challenge, and it made me dislike myself more. It was very unhealthy, so I don't wear makeup at all. Which, actually, looking at it, I'm really shiny, so I'm like, yeah, I probably should have had foundation on. Oh, well. I can't confront the negative words if I'm not aware of them. So step one, listening. I think I've beat that horse to death. Have we got that one? Listen. Okay, so the next one is a very scriptural statement. Take every thought captive. And that comes from 2 Corinthians 10:5. Take every thought captive to make it obedient to Christ. So that's what I did with the slapping one. Okay, this is my true thought. This is my feeling. This is myself. How would God want me to respond to it? I'm not pushing it down. I'm not ignoring it. And I'm not simmering with it. Oh, yeah. Just bam. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's two things. I can simmer it, just shove it down. And I think a lot of times in the church, we've been encouraged to do that. Oh, I can't think that thought. It's not a Christ-like thought. So I'm just going to ignore it. Well, it's not taking it captive. So what does he say? This starts with listening to your thoughts in your head, but it goes further. You must evaluate your thoughts, trapping and disposing of the ones that don't line up with God's truth. Please tell me he gives us more. I have a note on the side. It's my own note. It's like a garden. We can't always control everything that pops up in a real physical garden. Sometimes you get those Johnny jump ups that are beautiful flowers, but I like them. But if they're not growing where you want them, you got to remove them. For the longest time, I didn't always know, is this a weed or is this the thing I planted? So I had to wait till they were big enough so I could identify what it is. And that's the listening process. And then you identify, this flower, this is not a flower I wanted here. It's not, weeds are only weeds when they're not growing where you want them. So we take the dandelion out and remove it, getting to the root of it. So that's this taking captive. So he's saying trapping, disposing. That's why I said, like with the slapping one, working through the process of, well, why am I feeling this? What do I need to do about it? Okay, I'm going to pray for this person. I'm going to, for somebody who's not a Christ follower, it might be wishing them well, letting go, giving them a blessing, even if you're not in the mood for it. Second, did you know, even down to like that whole idea of smile when you're not happy, that like that fake smile, which some of us are like, oh, but I don't want to be plastic. I don't want to like, actually does something in your brain chemicals. Like the fake smile can become a real smile. Fun things. Okay. Second, in the same session, he says, fix your thought. He quotes Paul again, Philippians 4:8, which is hilarious because when I was reading the book on this page, I put Philippians 4 verse 8 as I was reading, taking every thought captive. I'm like, well, if we're going to really take captive our thoughts, then we have to replace them with something good. And then the next page, he's like in Philippians 4:8, I'm like, yes, I got the reference right. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and praiseworthy. In other words, be proactive about choosing how you focus your thoughts. When you capture and get rid of thoughts that are not in line with what God is working on in your heart, then follow that up by shifting your attention to things that are true, right, and excellent. You will begin to see yourself and the world around you differently. I worked at a summer camp, and if you said something negative about yourself specifically, this one camp director, I think it was the camp director, I just remember they would stop you and make you say 3 good things about yourself. It was hard some days. And if they heard you saying something negative about a camper or another person, you had to stop and say 3 kind things about that one, 3 true things about that person that had nothing to do with their hair, their physical appearance, their style, like what they're wearing or their appearance. So like you had to, like, if this person caught you, you had to stop and say good things. And I think that might be a good challenge if your script, this whole, I've listened, I've said something negative about myself, now I've got to say great. Which means you're going to make me say 3 things this week because you heard it in a good, oh, I love you.
You think it's only 3? It's going to be a lot more than 3 in a week.
No, say you're going to make me stop and say 3 things.
Each time?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
That's how that game works.
Okay.
That's why I said, oh, you're going to now stop me and make me say 3 times each time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has to be unique each time.
Oh, great. I love you. He's good to me. Okay. There's one more ingredient. Replace old thinking with new. And this is actually each of these things built in. So we listen. We're now taking we evaluate it. Is this good? Is this true? Is this excellent? What am I going to do with this thought that is negative? How do we flip the script on it? And now we're going to replace it. So there's a story, he doesn't go into it, about that Jesus says about a demon-possessed person that was cleansed of the unclean spirit. And their life was made clean. And then that spirit goes off and gets 7 other spirits and comes back. And the person's worse off because there was nothing to replace it. And does anybody know that Bible story that I just referenced? Okay, good. There's a nod. Mom, if you're watching this, drop the actual reference in the chat because I don't know it. So this is the type of thinking. He has a story. I don't know where it came from. One leading author, that's all he says. Very descriptive. One leading author on the topic describes this idea. So I've been using garden and planting, but as a mind mental apartment. So your head is an apartment. Now, you got that picture? You've got a nice little house in your head. Furnish with the things you think about yourself and the world around you. And I'm just going to read. This furniture is the old negative way of thinking which was handed down to you from your parents, your friends, your teachers.
Matthew 12:45.
Matthew 12,
45.
45.
Yeah,
Matthew
please.
12, 45.
I can find, and I read here. And then it goes away and takes with it 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they go in and live there. And the final condition of that person is worse than the first. That is how it will be with this wicked generation.
Okay,
I'm sure there's more to it than just that, but that's the part about the 7 spirits.
that was the part I was looking for. So this is the example that they give that has nothing to do with unclean spirits. Your mind is furnished with all this old negative thinking, which has been handed down to you from your parents, friends, teachers. I'm going to throw in the books, television, radio, newspapers. Like, we get words from lots of different, if you're watching a study, I know a friend who realized after watching years of Criminal Minds, it was giving her a negative view of the world. So she just had to stop. Okay, so they give us this furniture which we keep and which we use in our mental apartment. And imagine it, the broken down couch that you just took out of your apartment that's got a spring that you can kind of feel in the back, and the table that's got some chips and water stains. Now, let's say I agreed to come over. Actually, it would be, if it was moving, it would be Alex. I would just help with the small stuff. But let me say I came over to your mental apartment to help you get rid of the old furniture. We remove every piece, every dish, every rug, table, bed, sofa, chair. We take every old negative self-belief and store it safely out of sight. After I leave you in the middle of your mental apartment, you look around and think, this is great. I've gotten rid of all of my negative thinking. A little later that evening, after spending an hour or two with nothing but yourself in an empty apartment, what are you supposed to do? Well, you go out to the garage where the old furniture is stored and get a chair to sit down in. A little later, you take up another trip to the garage and bring back a table. And one by one, all these old thoughts come back into the apartment. So it's not enough to listen to what we're saying. Sorry, my hand's off screen. It's not enough to listen. It's not enough to evaluate and get rid of. We need to replace. If we're getting rid of an old chair, we got to buy a new one to put it in. Good friends who, can I use your name?
Sure.
Susan Stewart just got a new couch, and it was on back order for like 3 months.
Oh my God.
3 months, 4 months, I don't know. It was a while. And so they knew they were getting a couch. But the old couch, the one that we could feel the spring in the back of it, it's still functional,
Just not super comfy.
just not super comfy. I could still take a nap on it when I visit. They didn't just get rid of the couch and wait 3 months with nowhere to sit. They waited till the new one lined up and then got rid of the old one. The day the new one came in, the old one went out. So as we replace an old script, an old mental statement, we need to put something new in. So he's got some examples. So here's old thinking. I'm so fat and unhealthy. And I realize you're going to be on mic for me to do this, but what is something we could say to replace this mental script?
So thought that I have to do something about it. I'm on a diet. That's
I'm
what
not
I'm
where I want
trying
to
to
be,
do.
but I can change.
I'm not where I want to be, but I can change. That's a great one. God made me, and I am beautiful in his eyes. I think those two together Um, um, I'm not where I want to be, but I can make a healthy choice today. Like all of those can be worked into positive ones.
Although I may not look the way my ideal is, but I am still loved.
Okay, so I'm not where I want to be, but I'm still loved. Old thinking. I'm always tired. I'm always tired.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I think that's a great one. Scripture can be a great one to use as a memory tool on this one. For me, it would be, I'm going to have a great day today. Just completely erasing, like, I am going to have a great day today. He has I feel great. I have so much energy today. And I think that's some of that fake it till you make it. I don't feel like I have energy, but I do. Okay. I'm sick of my job. Or maybe it's, I want to quit. Whichever it is. Like, I want to quit. Is this one hard? I've already seen his suggestions, so I don't want to like burst out because I have some, like, I've had time to prepare, so I want to give space. You at home, if you're caught up with us and you're hearing this, you can throw out your old thinking replacements for any of these statements right now. So we've done the I'm so fat. We've done I'm always tired. I'm sick of my job. We have one more after this one. So.
Well, you could probably find even something, even a job that you don't like very much. You could find something that is positive about it and say, I get to do this today.
Yep. Okay, so his suggestion, as you all think.
Well, hold on, I have one.
Okay, you have one? Side note, for those listening at home, can you actually hear the other people in the room talking? I hope you can. It's really good conversation here.
Well, it's picking up on the auto text.
Okay, good.
It may not be my favorite job, but it's putting food on the table and allowing me to do the things in life I need to do.
Okay, so this one is very similar to that one. I'm thankful that I have a job and the income it creates. I am blessed that I can work. Like, if you have the worst job, and it really is the worst job for you, I'm blessed that I can work. There are those who can. I'm blessed that I have this chance to make an income and provide. Okay, last one. I'm not talented enough to do what I really want to do. And there's lots of variations of this script. So none of these might be the thing you're struggling with right now, but there might be a variation of this.
That one sounds very familiar. Because we both say something similar to that on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah, I was thinking you more than me, but I see things slightly different. This one's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mom has one for this one. I think it's for this one. I'm having fun doing this thing. Going back to that whole amateur singing. I might not have the best voice, but I am making a joyful noise. Sunday mornings, I do not sing well. I will not be in the worship team, but I can make a joyful noise, and I get joy out of singing. I will sing my heart out.
I may not be where I want to be, but with practice I can get better.
Yeah, and I think that one's a good stepping. Like, he has one. I'm blessed with skills. I have abilities. I can use them to their full potential. So I'm not where I want to be, but I can practice. I do have skills I don't recognize. So for some people, it might be, okay, singing is not my career path for me. I will enjoy that and pursue, like, I will put my energy into this thing that I am good at. And if you're going, but I'm not good at anything, that's not true. Sometimes the thing you're really good at, you don't realize is hard for other people. Like, you don't realize you are skilled and good at something. This one woman author that I read, she's like, I never realized I was a good editor. I never knew because it came so easy to me in school. I just did this thing. I thought nothing of it. I didn't know people struggled with grammar and knowing the right word until I was telling somebody, oh, just do this. And they're like, yeah, that's the thing I can't do. And she's like, oh, this is my talent. So there's some. Here's another one. This is going into so these were all personal. I can't stand the way my children second guess me. Again, this is one of his scripts. And he's got, I recognize my children are learning to question and discern what's right and wrong. How can I help nurture this? So like, that's flipping the switch. That's going back to like, wow, these kids are strong-willed. God, they will be good role models in their school. Help me to encourage their leadership. How can I work with you, God, and how you are creating these kids? And that was a mental script I had to start saying. He ends the chapter with Romans 12:2. It's a verse we often use in church circles. It was like the heart of our Sacred Rhythms book. Do not copy the behaviors and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn how to know God's will for you, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. I love this part, like, let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. And that's what this whole word thing is. There it is. God is in the process of transforming you from the inside out. He can't complete the work unless you let him, unless you cooperate with him by letting his thoughts become your thoughts. So this week, we've already been listening to what we're saying to ourselves. We're now going to stop and hold on to those thoughts when we have the space. And maybe it won't be like if you have a thought in the grocery store or while somebody's cutting you off, you might not in the heat of the moment yet be able to stop and hold on to that thought. But at the end of the day, take some time and reflect. What was my script today? I'm just giving you some grace because sometimes, oh, I missed it. I blew the chance. See, I'm the worst at this. And I don't want you to go through that. So give yourself grace through it. It's not something, it's like when infants are learning to walk. We encourage them when they make those steps. And anytime they fall down, we're just like, you keep doing it. You're going to be doing it the rest of your life. Like, it's an ongoing, even as an adult. I trip over sidewalks sometimes. A friend of ours tripped over a sidewalk and broke her foot. Like, even adults have bad moments. Like, you're going to not always get this right. I'm making a foot walking analogy. Okay, yes, back on track. So we're going to listen to our thoughts this week. Hold on to those thoughts. Take them captive. Evaluate them. Think about them. For some of us, we can do this in our heads. For somebody like me, the ADHD is strong, and I need to actually start writing it down. So journaling, and when I say journal, I mean just have a notebook that you can privately put. And if you're afraid, a child, a neighbor, a spouse, a cat that really hates you and can read is going to spy on you, use code words. Don't put people's names in if that's going to be a conflict issue. I know of families where a stepchild read mom's journal while processing things, and it became an issue. So use code words if that's something that might be a concern in your family. But write them down. This was my thought. What was the heart of that? What can I replace it with? And talk to God about it. Like, bring him into into the conversation and replace. And that's our homework for the week and the rest of our lives, because it's an ongoing journey. Any questions? Did we like this one 10 minutes longer than normal, but I thought it was worth it. Really glad you guys gals could join us. And thank you for joining online. And we'll be back next week. What are we talking about next week? Let me find out. Language of love. We're talking about relationships. I have no idea. I haven't read the chapter yet. I'll let you know next week. But we're talking about love. Oh, I was going to read a quote. I forgot to. We're going to end. This was the quote. The most influential person who will talk to you all day is you. So you should be very careful about what you say to you. There it is. I'm trying to make it not there, even. The most influential person who will talk to you all day is you. So you should be very careful about what you say to you. I think that's a good note to end the night on. Thank you for coming. May God richly bless you. May his face shine upon you. And as you think about your words, evaluate your words, may you hold them loosely, giving them to him and replacing them with new truth. Truth that is love and joy and peace and grace, bringing joy to your lives. Amen. We will see you next week. Bye, friends.